Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Dan Deming, Managing Director at KKM Financial, to discuss pockets of strength in the market and what could impact earnings season. Dan, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. I'm going to start with the broader look at the market first. In terms of the S&P 500, how well is it performing from a technical perspective?
Well, big test here the last week, Jill. And I think when you look at the S&P in particular, the fact that it was able to hold its 200-day moving average, we did see some, we kind of earmarked that 4,200 just above as a key level. And we've hit it a couple times overnight, but didn't really significantly breach it. And now we're getting a nice pop off that. So I think initially, I'd say that this is a win for the bulls, that the fact that we did hold that 200-day moving average are now moving away from it in the S&P.
And how about the VIX? We saw a little bit of volatility over the past 3 to 4 weeks. Is it starting to come back in again? Is it reflective of what we saw with that bounce off that key level in the S&P?
Yeah, we are seeing the VIX coming down quite a bit today, Jill, in response to the fact that we are now getting back into what was the breach of the range. So the 4350 level in the S&P, really between there and 4600 was the summer range. We did break through there earlier in the week, late last week, early this week. That's what caused the VIX, I think, to really move up. And we did see the VIX go to the highest level since May, around 21, before falling off here to 18 or just below now. Again, response to a new range in the S&P, and that's why we did see the VIX move higher. But now that we're going to go back in, and particularly if we capture that range back in that 4,300 level, we'll see the VIX come in quite substantially, I believe, because, again, you're still within the range of the last five months or so.
What sectors are you seeing that continue to exhibit relative strength?
Well, when you look at the relative strength, Jill, certainly the tech sector continues to exhibit significant relative strength. And now we're looking at some of the cybersecurity stocks and some of those names really catching a bid, as well as networking. The areas that continue to struggle is the consumer staples, particularly, again, down today in reaction to a very positive reaction in the market. Again, I think their margins are getting squeezed. There's concerns as we move towards earnings, how much of an impact on margins there could be for those consumer staples, particularly with the issues with China.
Well, it's interesting, with the consumer staples names, of course, the news for this week has certainly been on packaged food products, right? With the impact of Ozempic and other drugs that are leading to weight loss and so forth. I thought that was such an interesting phenomenon, how not only will preferences change, but even there was a retail report out this morning where you have to refresh your wardrobe due to the effects of Ozempic and similar drugs. So I think it's really interesting to see how that is impacting full sectors now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's going to continue to unfold. Yeah, it's changing consumer habits to some degree, and if it continues to evolve as we believe that it will, that that definitely could change the dynamic within certain sectors of the market. And again, when you look at defensive in nature, typically consumer staples is one of the defensive positionings when the market's under some duress, and it just has not turned out to be the case this time.
Yeah, and I wonder what would happen with healthcare as well, right? In theory, if you bring your weight down, heart disease and diabetes, other types of diseases, they get under control and they're easier to manage as well. I mean, how does that impact pharma? I mean, if you're looking longer term out, certainly not a short-term call here, but I think, just like AI wasn't the theme going into 2022, no one was thinking about COVID going into 2020. I don't think anyone was thinking about Ozempic and the impact to retail, to healthcare potentially in the beginning of the year. So it's interesting to see how these come out, and now you have different theses that are being developed around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the beauty of the markets, is you continue to see the evolution and all these things that are continuing to, evolve, and then how they are being priced into the market. And as you pointed out, AI, classic example early in the year. Now we're seeing, some of the dynamics within the healthcare sector that is having an impact on other sectors as well. So, yeah, I think that this is something that's going to continue to unfold. We certainly believe that that's going to be the case moving forward. So we're continuing to analyze the impact here and looking at names that will benefit from that.
All right, Dan, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.